Hey, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. I'm Michael Pachter, Twitter at Michael Pachter. Happy to have you here. We are hopeful you're watching this real time as a Patreon patron. If so, thank you so much for your patronage. You also, in addition to patronage on Patreon, can link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account. That costs nothing, and Amazon will pay us an extra couple of bucks a month, so that would be awesome if you can pull that off. And if you can do neither, then you're watching this a week later on YouTube, and you're watching it for free. So at a minimum, follow me at Michael Pachter on Twitter, follow Shane at Dinfire on Twitter, follow Sifted at Sifted Games on Twitter. Let's get to today's question from Sifted from Kev Masters. The recent Activision Blizzard scandal involving misconduct and poor treatment of its female employees paints a very immature picture of what working in the video game industry is like. Is the industry really comprised of creeps? Do these issues impact a company's stock value? Yes, they do. How do you stop the bleeding of talent after such a fiasco? Okay, lots going on. First of all, the world is composed of creeps. There are creeps everywhere. I wish I could give you a percentage number. 1%, 5%, 10%. It's not 50, but there's some number of people who are just bad actors and they do bad things. And it could be racist, it could be sexist, it could be greedy, selfish, stupid shit. It could be drug abusers, alcoholics, who knows. Some things are status, offenses, like alcoholism might be a disease, I get that. Being a sexist or a racist is not that. And I think there's a lot of sexists and racists out there. I mean, there just are. And so if you treat people badly at work because you're a sexist or a racist, it's the employer's responsibility to root you out and either discipline you or terminate you. I don't think you can ever screen out what people believe, but if they believe something that creates a hostile work environment, you have to make sure they keep that to themselves. So, it's fine, not to be vaccinated and not to show up at work. That's okay. It's not fine to come to work and spit on everybody and say you're not vaccinated, you don't care if they die. There are prices we pay to live in free society, and it's fine if you're an incel, which means involuntary celibate, and you hate all women as a result. It's not fine to discriminate against women at work because you feel that way. So it's up to the employer to make sure that they don't put people who harass others in a position of power. If they find out about it, it's the employer's responsibility to discipline or terminate that employee. And it's the employer's responsibility to make sure that there's a system of checks and balances in place and rules, and that every employee is educated about how to deal with their coworkers. And so, we are required to live in free society. We're required to be colorblind, sex blind, national origin blind, let people advance based on their skills and their accomplishments, not based on their gender or their color or their sexual preference or their disability. Ignore that stuff and treat them based on their contribution. And so, back to your question, I think that in the last 15, 20 years, the video game industry has done a really good job of attracting a diverse talent pool. And I think that you're probably seeing north of 30% of developers that are women and that are hired, and it could be as high as 50 now. But I'd say more than 15 years ago, the training programs, the was an old boys network. The software engineering, schools, and the rank and file people that worked their way up in the industry were all guys. And it's just an industry that, probably mirroring the players of games. 25 years ago, there's no way it was 50% women playing games. Now it's probably close to that. So I think that you had an industry that attracted a bunch of nerdy guys who actually like to code, and now you got girls who code. I mean, we obviously have lots of people who code, But 20 years ago, the guys who are in charge now were coming into the industry, and they had their fair share of sexist pigs. And so I think the Activision Blizzard scandal is mostly Blizzard, is mostly the World of Warcraft team. I think they had a handful of pigs that treated women poorly, and I think the bigger issue for Activision is that it was tolerated. The guy who was alleged to be the big harasser was fired in May of 2020. So clearly Activision knew about it and disciplined him by terminating him. But, the state of California Department of Fair Employment and Housing didn't think that was enough, and they filed a lawsuit in 2021, in July of 2021. And Activision ended up firing the head of Blizzard by saying, you didn't go far enough, you didn't do enough. Should that have happened a year and a half ago? Yeah. Should it have happened 10 years ago? Yeah. I have to say the part that morally outraged me, and I never had seen this before, I might have even been there and just not paying attention, but was the BlizzCon where a woman at the World of Warcraft panel asked the question about objectifying women in World of Warcraft.
Hi there, Xantia from Kieran Tor. I love what you guys done with World of Warcraft. I love the fact that you have a lot of very strong female characters. However, I was wondering if we could have some that don't look like they've stepped out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog.
What do you mean?
Wait.
Which catalog would you like them to step out of?
Could you see Sylvanas looking any other way? Right. So we feel you, and we want to vary our female characters, absolutely. So yeah, we'll pick different catalogs.
And I again, that was 2010. I'm not the same person in 2021 that I was in 2010. I might have laughed then. It's not funny. And a woman asked a serious question that I think was hard to do in front of thousands of people, and she asked, and they mocked her. So, yeah, there was a culture of harassment there. To answer your question, are they really composed of creeps? Yeah, some small percentage, 2, 3, 4, 5%. We've all known creeps. I will say that I've been working for about 40 years. I find this industry to be composed of a nicer group of people than anything I've ever worked in. So I'd say most people who work in the games industry actually understand that their role is to bring joy to consumers, and I think that that's really why they do it. I think their mission every day when they wake up is, how can I entertain our players? How can I make them have more fun? And so I think that's a great attitude. Sexual harassment is just never okay. I can't address the unfair pay issue that the state brought up. Again, back to my example, 20 years ago it was all men. In the last 15 years it's probably 30% women. So we're probably up to 15, 20% women. And I think the lawsuit said Activision has 2,000 women out of their 9,000 employees. So 22%. My guess is not all 2,000 of those women are game developers. They're probably, secretaries and janitors and sandwich makers in the cafeteria too. So, they probably only have 10, 15% of the workforce in high-powered professional jobs. My guess is they are paid on average less than the men. And one good excuse for that would be that they have less experience than the men. But if you find a woman that's a 10-year developer next to a guy who's a 10-year developer, they better make within spitting distance the same amount of money, or you're treating them wrong. So I don't know the answer to that because the state didn't give us, that kind of detail. But that again, is that because somebody's a creep, or is that because the human resources department's not paying attention? It's up to everybody to make sure that they treat all their employees equally. You've got to. You've got to give everybody a chance. And so, yes, I think that investors care, and Activision's shares have gone from over $100 to down to, I think they bottomed at 79. So they lost a good 20% of their value. It's popped back to 83, 84. How do you stop the bleeding of talent? I'm not so sure you're losing a lot of talent. I saw a lot of really interesting commentary from women developers at Activision who said, please don't boycott our games. This is how I feed my family, and this is my livelihood, and we're just trying to do the best job we can to keep people entertained. I don't think you're going to lose that many people. I think you're going to lose some creeps, and I think you're going to fire some creeps. But I don't think you get a talent bleed because the company's taken the right position. And the right position was, we won't tolerate harassment, period. And the harassers will be dealt with. That was pretty strong. Then they went one step further. We won't tolerate the enabling of harassment, and the enablers will be dealt with. So I don't think anybody ever accused Jay Brock of harassing anyone, and I don't think he did. I don't think he's capable of it. Super, super nice guy. But the buck stopped with him. He was the CEO of Blizzard, and he apparently knew about this stuff and didn't take action until the state filed a suit. So that alleged harasser had been allegedly harassing for years, and he should have been disciplined after the first complaint, maybe after the second. Maybe the first you say it might not have happened, but once it happens the second time, you know that the guy's doing something wrong. So shareholders are tolerant because all shareholders work in places that have a creep. We've all worked there. There's always somebody who is, using their power, their position to influence some weaker employee, whether that's a man harassing a female or a boss harassing a subordinate. But it happens all the time, and I think we all recognize that it happens all the time. And I think we're tolerant that when it happens, it should be dealt with, and if it's dealt with appropriately, then we don't abandon the stock. If it's dealt with appropriately, we don't quit the company. If it's not dealt with appropriately and the culture of harassment persists, then we leave. So your question about how do you stop the bleeding of talent, you stop it by dealing with the issue and making sure that everybody feels that it's safe. An employer's primary obligation to the employee is to make sure that they have a pleasant work environment, a non-threatening work environment that's conducive to productivity. And having concerns about somebody being harassed makes it unproductive and unsafe, and you leave those situations. And feeling like your employer will deal with that makes it feel safe, and you'll stay. So I actually think Activision's doing the right thing. I read a bunch of people saying, "Oh, Bobby Kotick has to go." I'm not so sure he even knew about it. I mean, to be honest with you, I know that you'll say, "How could he not know about it?" 9,000 employees. I mean, how many charges of sexual harassment were there? 5? Yeah, I think he might not have known. And I think that might be why the guy in between, who should have told him about it and said, "Let's fix this. I'm firing the lead, executive producer of World of Warcraft. Let's move on this." If he had done that, I think Jay Brock would still be there. But he didn't. So anyway, that's my opinion. I don't know. We'll not know the facts until this works its way through the court system. But honestly, I think that you just have to accept it. It's sort of like saying, "Gosh, if an employee steals from Wedbush, should we fire Gary Wedbush?" No. If the employee steals and then we promote him after knowing about it, then maybe. But no, we're going to have somebody do something wrong. Just everybody has a firm. Everybody in a firm is going to have a bad apple. Like, it wasn't like there were 50 groups and there were 700 people. It's like it was a group, and it was like the safe creep place. The creeps fed on the creeps, and I think it happens to a lot of people, where your friend is a racist or something, and you're still hanging with them, and then you end up doing something you regret later. Like, I'm just saying, if you hang with creeps, you're going to get involved in creepy activity. And again, I don't know. I read about the Cosby/Crosby suite. Like, I don't really know what happened. Yes, they were objectifying women, and yes, they're creeps. That was 2013. Not saying that it was right, but it was 2013. And that number was, I think, 6 people, however many were in that photograph, and they were all on the same team. So sometimes you get sucked into it and you're just with your creepy friends who decide to go to the, it's like The Hangover. You get stuck with the creepy guys who are doing the creepy things. The next thing you know, you have a tattoo on your face. Please make sure, if you're a Patreon patron, that you also are a Twitch Prime link to your Amazon Prime account. There's a ticker below with your names on it. If you don't see your name there, you didn't do it right. Try it again. And if you're a YouTube subscriber or Patreon patron, we thank you. If you've linked Twitch Prime to Amazon Prime, we thank you. If you're watching for free on YouTube, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Give me grief for being a Democrat or tell me you believe it, whatever. But it's good for all of us if we have different opinions and we can express them and then still get along and like each other for who we are. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.